we had a client come up and say, hey, have you ever built a shipping container house? And I said, nope. And he says, how much would it cost? I said, no idea. How long would it take? Also no idea. And he's like, true story. He's like, let's do it. So we built the first code-approved first code-approved shipping container house in the state of South Dakota. And we built weird things for a long time. So I was in the middle of building a straw bale house. So we have the first code-approved straw bale house in the state of South Dakota. It's fuzzy bricks, plastered with earth and plaster. It took me 4 years to get the permits and get it done. But I wanted to show people you could have a sustainable home. It could be healthy, it could be inexpensive, and you can build it yourself.
Welcome to Making Sparks, the podcast where we ignite your passion for metal fabrication and fuel your business success. Join industry leaders and dive deep into the world of metalworking. From business insights to tips of the trade, Making Sparks is your forge of knowledge. During each episode, discover success stories, innovative solutions, and expert interviews that light the path to business growth. Subscribe today and grow and improve your company, and let's make sparks fly together.
Welcome back to Making Sparks. I'm your host, Casey Voelker, sitting here with my co-host, Matthew Nix. I'm not even going to say that we've hosted a few of these without each other.
Everybody knows already.
They already know.
And this is going to be the best. We saved the best for last.
That's right. This is the last episode here at FabTech 2025 with our awesome, I would say they're basically like a booth sponsor. They're letting us use their booth for free. Multi-press, they're powered by Pacific. So if you need a press, that's your guys' alley.
Yeah, great. They make great products, press brakes, all kinds of presses. So check them out.
And they're really cool people because that's what I've gotten to know. So Matthew, you want to introduce who our awesome guests are today?
We have got very special guests for you today. Coming
Returning
all the
guest.
way. Well, yeah, Rodney is a returning guest. All the way from Spearfish, South Dakota. No, super cool. Can't wait to visit Spearfish sometimes. Yeah, Rodney and Cappie, and Cappie is the host of Building Outside the Lines on Magnolia Network.
The Magnolia Network, yep.
Yeah. So I had a fanboy moment earlier.
we didn't record it.
I was just sharing. It was so cool. I was sharing with Cappie that I had the show on in the background one day, just like messing around in my man cave, and then all of a sudden they happened to be. You guys were doing the beehive.
The drum.
The concrete drum, turning into a beehive. And, you know, it's kind of your, I hope I can say this, it's kind of your stereotypical, like, project show where it's like, you got the project, pull the curtain back at the end kind of thing, but theirs is really good. Yeah. But I was captivated. I was like, because you kind of know the plot line of those shows, you know, it's on Magnolia Network, so you can kind of envision what it's like. But I was captivated because I was captivated. You like that? Because that's where I'm going with this, because they were working with metal. And there was this guest fabricator that came on, and they take this concrete truck, they turn it into a beehive playhouse for a little girl. It was really cute. The next thing you know, I'm caught up in this thing. And so then I go about my business. I don't think anything of it. Lo and behold, we have a podcast host that comes into Indiana to be on our podcast and had no idea there was any connection. And I figured out, that shows you how poorly I did my research. I figure out while Rodney's out visiting us, he's talking about TV show this, TV show that. I'm like, well, what's the TV show? He's like, oh, you know, it's on Magnolia Network. It's called Building Outside the Lines. I'm like, holy shit, I watched that show.
Was that on the episode? Like, you actually realized? I can't even remember now.
I don't remember either. Yeah.
I do remember you doing that. You're like, oh, I know that show.
Yeah, the secret behind that one was that was the true test of Rodney and I's friendship, was that drum. So you can get those drums for free. I paid $100 for that drum. And so we had the plan to cut it all out. We didn't estimate was the amount of time to chip the concrete out from the inside.
It's always those little things. Yeah. I remember on the show, you in there banging around. You had a plasma cutter in there, I think. You were trying to cut off. Well, and what people don't realize too is that concrete, when you get it hot, it explodes.
It sure does.
It's not
inside
not
your own grenade casing.
Yeah, literally inside your grenade.
If it doesn't get you, it'll get you on the bounce on the way back.
It's
smoky.
I used to work on dump trucks all the time. And you get in the back of those dump trucks where they had hauled stuff like that, you know, and you're cutting on the torch, and all of a sudden, boom, it comes apart, gets down your damn shirt.
Oh yeah,
well, it's hot.
That was real spicy. But
yeah, that was a lot of work. I mean, it was like our first biggest dilemma with that was figuring out how we were going to fit it in the shop.
Yep.
You know, because we were like, it sounds like a great idea, but then it was, you know,
Yeah, I thought he had a 14-foot roll-up door on the shop. It's not. It's 12.
I remember that.
And that was pouring rain. And
so that wasn't like made for TV drama. That was just real life screw up.
We messed that up. Yeah, absolutely. And then brought it in, and I'm like, it was super fun. But pulling it in and rigging everything up. But Rodney's been such a great, we've been friends for a long time, and to get him involved in the show, and he does amazing work. And these guys are so creative and very similar to you guys in the sense of he's all about growing. He's all about how do I make this a legacy for my family? How do I?
He's a real student of business and fabrication, but also business. I've
lunch with him and his brother, and he had so many. You guys had a lot of good questions.
Yeah, I noticed that about you right away. You're really a student of business in general, and that's what it takes.
And I think I don't know if we talk about that enough, but that's part of the fun too. Like for a lot of probably our listeners that run their own shops and stuff, they're like. A lot of people that go and start their own business, they're like, I can do the trade. This is going to be fun. I get to do it all the time. And they don't think about the business side. Yeah. But there is a way you can embrace it. I still think of one interview I did with you where you said, instead of, you still like to build it was
a builder at heart.
Yeah, you're a builder at heart. But instead of building things, I'm going to build a great company now.
Sure.
And I was like,
yeah, very cool.
That's a cool way to put it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the challenge too. Everyone wants to, get into the business, but they don't know anything about it. Like, hey, I'm really good at building. I'm really good at concrete or welding or whatever the business is, but there's no, there's profit overhead. And what insurances do I have to have? How much do employees actually cost? How much should I charge for the employees? But I think that's what's great, like content like yours is 10 years ago, that information was not, there wasn't a group that had come together to sort of help each other out. And I think that's one of the beautiful things being here and seeing you want Rodney to succeed. I want you guys to succeed. Everyone's like, hey, I did this, it didn't work, or stay away from hey, we tried this tool, it's not gonna do what you think it's gonna do, but this one did. But I had to buy this $50,000 thing to know that. Please don't go buy it first, go straight to this one, right? And I think that's the neat thing about the camaraderie of, especially the fabrication world, is everyone wants everyone to win, and everyone's totally down to help.
But in order to participate in that, you got to get out of your comfort zone and you got to go do it. And I'll never forget the time that I had lunch with this. He was like the most successful business guy in Evansville. That's the bigger town near us. 200,000 people or so. We're in a tiny little town. So the town near us, biggest business guy in town. I mean, they're like $1 billion family business. So he's a somebody. Well, I asked him to go to lunch. And he went to lunch with me. And I remember at lunch asking him, why did you, I'm a nobody, you don't know who I am. Why did you take this lunch with me? And he goes, it's pretty simple, because you asked. It didn't have to be more complicated. Now, first of all, he's the servant leader and, wants to help people the way that we want to help people. But it was what I took away from that was you got to get out of your comfort zone and ask. And also, he didn't have to say this, but my other inclination was not that many people probably ask him to go to lunch.
Sure.
And so you just you don't end up on your own TV show unless you get out of your comfort zone. And I would love to hear how that all came to be. And so Magnolia Network is, it's no joke. This is Chip and Joanna Gaines. They're a big deal. So just share a little bit about, because I think that's, our audience will find that really interesting. So, and maybe before you do that, your backstory of, what you do for a living or did and how that evolved into this.
Sure. I was raised by a she-wolf in a cave in Montana. No, I'm kidding. South Dakota kid, born and raised. Was horrible at school, except metal shop, wood shop. Was great at that. But
would have been good at theater.
Yeah, right. Didn't know that at the time. But I left high school, joined the military, traveled the world for a couple years, about 4 years.
What branch?
Air Force.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and but I went from a small town and never literally being on an airplane to 53 countries by the time I turned 23.
Wow. What an experience.
And a high learning curve, steep learning curve to go right into the thick. And then, I got out, but I'd always been interested in building. I grew up building with my dad and my grandpa, but real traditional spec house, fix this, put shingles on a roof, real bread and butter. And then after traveling the world, seeing houses made out of mud and stone and sticks and rocks. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Maybe we could do that. So that's where the building part started. But I'd done lots of things. I did corporate marketing for MTV and General Motors and Solomon, and worked as a wilderness instructor for troubled kids. I'd take little hoodlums camping, whether they wanted to go or not. And but ultimately moved back to spearfish, started a handyman business because I was handy. And that sort of evolved into, hey, can you build this for me, or an addition or a remodel? And then we had a client come up and say, hey, have you ever built a shipping container house? I said, nope. And he says, how much would it cost? I said, no idea. How long would it take? Also no idea. And he's like, true story. He's like, let's do it. Great. So we built the first code-approved first code-approved shipping container house in the state of South Dakota. And we did that for an episode of Building Off the Grit, which is on the Discovery Channel.
How did you get connected?
So we built sort of oddball, we built weird things for a long time. So I was in the middle of building a straw bale house. So we have the first code-approved straw bale house in the state of South Dakota. And it's exactly what you think. It's little, it's fuzzy bricks, plastered with earth and plaster. And it took me 4 years to get the permits and get it done. But I wanted to show people you could have a sustainable home. It could be healthy, it could be inexpensive, and you can build it yourself. And we did. And so through that and through my very limited social media content, it just garnered attention from production companies. So how the magic sort of works is if you're the network and we all three have production companies, you're like, listen, all right, guys, here's what's hot this year. I want something about motorcycles. I want something about bush people in Alaska, and I want something about off-grid living. Go. And all three of us scramble out. We go get, and I got to come up with the best idea to sell it to you. And we all present these ideas to you, and you're like, I like that one. I don't like that one. I like that one. And then they do a sizzle reel. And then it's sort of it's a real expensive job interview is what it is. It's a 10-minute version of a show. So we'd had multiple people reach out to us over the years, and a lot of them were just, sort of fishing or didn't want to pay. And we had one guy that was shocked that he asked if I'd fly to LA to meet his producer, and I said, of course, absolutely. I said, I'm $500 a day plus expenses, and this was 15 years ago. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, don't look at me like you don't know what I just said. And he was shocked, because they look for these young kids that are real excited to be on TV or be on some sort of content. And I'm like, well, I'll dance, but you got to pay my rate to dance. And that was really hard for a lot of them. And finally we had one stick. And but the show now, Building Outside the Lines, was our idea. So I pitched it to the network. So we went to Chip and Joanne. We actually got offers from multiple networks for the show. And we wanted to go with them, partly because they had done it. They were builders before there was a TV show. They were a husband and wife team that were, doing their darndest. And I knew they'd been up at midnight refinishing cabinets because the countertops were coming the next day. Or I knew, they were up there laying rebar because concrete was coming in the morning, hell or high water. So I wanted to work with someone who had been there and not just a room full of executives that are like, well, why can't you do it for the amount of money we think you can do it for? Yeah. So, yeah, and then it's been wildly successful. My daughter, Alex, we call her Sprout, is the co-host of the show.
She's a great character.
She's amazing. She's that, and the best part about it is she is 100% that kid that you see on the show. That is her in real life, and she'll use every opportunity to take the piss out of me when she can to try to make me laugh on camera or bust a shot or something like that. And she walked up in one episode and we were struggling hard to get some concrete out of the ground that we'd cut, and she walked up with a cup of coffee and looked right at me and said, "Hey, Capp, have you tried trying harder?" And I'm like, shit. Yeah, great. But yeah, and she's adventurous and she's a smart kid, and but she's a teenager. You have young kids, and Rodney has real young kids. But that's the biggest thing for me, and it's sort of talk about your business is that comfort zone thing's a real thing, dude. And people talk about it like it's a meme or a hashtag, and your comfort zone can be like, go introduce yourself to a stranger at an event. You don't have to, I'm going to start a 7-figure business and put my house up with a second mortgage. It's the comfort zone of, she didn't know how to drive a car. I met her when she was 6, right? She, of course, didn't know how to do anything, but I'm like, hey, you're going to learn how to drive a skid steer, right? And it was the old skid steer with the pedals. She couldn't operate it because she couldn't stand on the pedals. Well, we sold it and traded it for a flight control machine. Well, she was 7 years old and she could run it because all she had to do was move her little hands. And so now I have another person on the job site. She can move buckets of rock back and forth. She can move gravel. She can unload pallets when the semi comes. That's an hour of my time that I didn't have to do, and we could be doing other things. So, and it's been great with the show to sort of get friends involved, get people involved, but also show the world. Like, we get a lot of reach out from young people that are like, well, I didn't know I could weld. Can I learn to weld? Absolutely. Plasma cut. And the trick about women, is they have more patience than us. They have finer motor skills.
They're more detail oriented in general, finer motor skills. Yeah, I think welders, painters,
100%.
Probably machinists. We don't have any female machinists yet, but we have some welders and painters, and they're really.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah, one of the best TIG welders I've ever met in my life was a 19-year-old woman. And she's, I mean, I don't know how she's that good at that young of an age, but it's amazing. So, but it's been great. It's been a great platform to show people sort of you can step outside your comfort zone, even if it's designing things and, you know, turning a concrete drum into a beehive, or Alex's treehouse is the same similar drum, but it's 35 feet in the air and it's a steampunk rocket ship with Wi-Fi,
I remember
solar
that one,
electricity. And so it's been really fun. And Rodney's been such a sport with all this stuff. And he got to be one of the clients last year. And yeah, it's been amazing just to do it. And he's obviously a great human and a character and always down for something. But
That's a good segue into Rodney, because I got a question here.
Okay.
I always think my whole role here is to remember that we have listeners, right? And and I think I'm fascinated by everything.
We're glad you're here, Casey.
Thank you. Well, I've been very fascinated by everything, off camera, on camera, everything we've been talking about. But then you mentioned it, like, oh, this is the direction. I'm like, that is the direction we need to go, because I'm somewhat of a video maker myself. And we did a project called Life of a Craftsman, and it was following 4 different craftsmen from sunrise to sunset. And it was
An Addy award-winning video.
Yeah. Judge's Choice and Best in Show. Sorry. Lots of plugs there. But I bring it up because it's still, over the last 5 or so years, maybe 6 years, maybe even 10 years, in the fabrication industry, influencers are coming up, like Rodney, and it's become more popular to have a personal brand, but it's still not where it is with other industries.
Sure.
And so I think, like, I would love to hear your guys', Rodney, your take, and how working even like in the more traditional media of TV, like how has that helped your business, and why would like a company be like, no, our team members shouldn't be investing in their personal brands, or I'm a business owner, my personal brand should be really corporate, really professional, because I'm trying to sell to corporates, professional, instead of being real and things like that.
Well, I think to a couple angles, what I heard out of that is because from my angle, I'm a small business, but I'm looking to how can I add value to you, or to you is that I've got a different reach depending on where companies are trying to take their brand, you know, because I just visited with a fume extractor company this morning, and they want to send us one to have in the shop. And so I'm like, I can tell other guys that are small shops, like, hey, this product here, I'm going to try it out. If it works for us, it might work for you. To whereas whether you're trying to go corporate to corporate or small business to small business, it's like, I look at it as like, I have this opportunity to be on TV, and to take that opportunity to be like, hey, I want to be the voice for you, so that if there's other companies wanting to grow their business, I'm like, I see Nick's as a role model. So I'm like, I want to grow. You know, Cappie and I've had lots of conversations about business. Whenever he came over to the garage, he didn't know I was working in the garage when he had me build his first mono staircase.
His house. Like, actually, I'm like, why am I at some dude's house? Like, he opens the garage door. I'm like, oh, damn, man, it's a welding shop. He's got a garage. Like, the whole thing.
Yeah, and so it was one of those deals, you know, as a business, you're like trying to, whether you charge this or you do this. And he's like, the first thing, the best advice I ever got was like, no is a complete sentence. Like, you know, like it's okay to say no to something that if it doesn't, I don't want to say benefit, but if it's not going to work in your realm.
If it doesn't align with what you're doing.
Yes, if it doesn't align, it's okay to, because when you're small, you're like, well, I don't want to turn that down because it might be a good opportunity, or
it's $500. I better take it.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, I think I view it as an opportunity. Like, everyone sees value in different things, and it's all in the deal. So if it's something like to where if I can help this podcast grow just by promoting it on my socials, because part of the helping each other out, you know, like it's, you know, I think it benefits whether you're a big corporate company, you're like, you know, what is the going thing? Everyone's trying to find a influencer to promote. I mean, it's like in the 90s, when the way they did it, they found a big movie star, represent our sunglasses or whatever, and you see them wearing it, it made you want to go get it. Where nowadays,
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Well, nowadays that's kind of gone out the window. I mean, Cappie and I have been talking about it with a lot of companies here, even here at FabTech, that like if they want us to use their product, you know, one, it's got to be something that we believe in, you know. And two, but if, you know, it's not the natural, just like, oh, hey, sponsored by,
Right.
you know, so it's kind of like one of those deals, like, if I believe in your product and I'm going to use it, I'm going to wear it, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to try it out. I want to be able to say, hey, I believe in this. I want to try to promote other people to, like if you're a small business like me and you want to grow your business, you got to be able to take chances. You see other people who have done it, and so I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of.
Well, I think most of our audience probably doesn't have the following, and probably maybe doesn't even aspire to ever have this following to monetize it. I'm going to call it, whether they actually pay you or whether you get free product, you're still monetizing it. Yeah. So to ever monetize that reach for like sponsorship or influencer like you're doing, but short of that, like if they don't have a following or an aspiration to do that, there's still tremendous value in building a personal brand and getting putting yourself out there.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of people are afraid to step out of there because it's like, I think what we were saying earlier, that like sometimes people are afraid, even there's some big names that we were talking to this week in here that, they're, like they've got a huge following, but they don't reach out to people and say, hey, would you like to be on our platform? Or, even bigger corporate companies.
Well, I think it escalated really quickly. Like you've been in business, your family's been in business a really long time. So like think about, when you were a kid, I imagine you'd probably still run newspaper ads and there's print ads, and then you were in the yellow pages, and that was a big deal. And the salesman would come around, and my family had a motel, and I remember that guy hustling my mom to put that ad, and boy, we could give you a quarter page, and here's the whole thing, and it was real money. But the fascinating thing is, for better or worse, with the way the world is, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there is so much access to information, products, knowledge, whatever it is, it's overwhelming. I mean, legitimately, like Google, just type into a search engine, how to grow my business. Jesus, you'd spend 3 weeks sorting through.
How do you grow your business?
You're right. Yeah, there you go. So that's part of it. And I think what I find with what Rodney and talking about, like this cross promotion and the marketing piece of it, is people through and through are looking for authenticity, period. Like the intro to this podcast. You didn't have a big rapper. We're all sitting here. We're already talking before you started. You're like, oh yeah, I got to introduce it. Sorry, I'm here to do. That's real. This is all real. There's nothing scripted. There's no papers in front of us, and you're not reading. Yeah, that was kind of scripted. You did really good. It looked super natural. And but I think that authenticity, and even in the show for us, like there's a scene and it made the show, which is super funny, was you're looking down this, this concrete drum that's covered in concrete, and it's probably looks like a alien death snail. And Rodney, I did not know this. Rodney's laying in the fins, and he just sits up, and it's so damn funny because I set up for the shot, and they're like, okay, block me out, and they're like, okay, go. And then Rodney sits up behind me, and it was so funny. And he was just being Rodney, just being silly. So I think that authenticity is something people really crave, and not the polished stuff anymore.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. You said people that might be selling to more corporate clientele, and we've been really trying to shift our thought process on this lately too. Is like, yeah, it might be big corporate, but it's still a person writing the PO.
Person to person.
It's still person to person, and
still gotta have that relationship.
You have to connect, like you said, authenticity. But people buy from people that they like and connect with. So it doesn't matter if it's Toyota Motor Company or General Electric or whatever. It's still a person you're trying to connect with.
That's super a good reminder, because like you think about anyone that you're trying to work with, like if someone's going to buy from you, like even in the smaller days, if you go out and you look at a job and you're like, hey, and it's like, it just feels good. Like, I trust this guy. He's going to do me right. Whereas if someone else is like, oh man, I'm going to get that money from them, and they can sniff it out like a hound dog, like as far as that authenticity of whether you're there for the money or if you're there for, that relationship.
And, represent your brand and your name. And
as a business, and I'm learning this going really fast right now, as in like, and also like I want to work with people that I align with anyway. Like I want people to pay me when I work with a company that we're not clicking.
Yeah,
I'm over here talking to my coworkers. I'm saying I don't like this. I'm complaining, and I'm a pretty positive guy. And if I'm complaining, that it's probably not going very well.
Sure.
But I'm like, I'm learning the more, and then as you get bigger, you got to kind of separate that a little bit, but you also, as you get bigger, you have the opportunity to say no too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the no is a complete sentence thing came from. Is like, my big thing is we're very specialized, right? We do one-off things, and there's never any duplicates, whether it's a house or a tiny house or whatever, fenced-in garden. And, you know, if I don't think I'm a fit with the clients, whether, you know, and it's not that they're good or bad or indifferent, it's just, I don't think we're going to be a good match. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a jerk. It doesn't mean I'm a jerk. It just means I don't think we're a good fit for this project. And I've told people no, and that's very confusing to them sometimes. And, you know, I'll know. They're like, well, can you break down that bid? I want to see what every piece is. I said, well, I don't do that. All right, well, what do you charge an hour? I don't. I work on a stipulated sum basis. You want X built, it's going to cost Y. And I said, well, how much does your dentist charge an hour? What? Well, I don't know. How much does your dentist charge? You got a teeth cleaning? How long does it take? Half an hour? How much you pay him? $300. I said, so your dentist charges $600 an hour. Whoa. I mean, he went to school. I said, so did I. Just a different kind of school, right? And I think it's when, especially young people growing a business, you're so scared. You know, you'll get into this thing and you'll walk into these meetings and these bids with a hat in hand. And I've been there lots of times. I know Rodney's been there. I imagine you have. And also just understanding your value is something that is hard to teach people, especially when like, well, I'm a really good fabricator. Man, I can lay down dimes with the best of them. Yeah, but hold your chin up and own that. Like, step up to do that and understand the client has value. If you want a bird bath fixed, well, yeah, Jojo down the road who's got his dad's buzz box can probably fix it. Yeah. If you want a fuel tank fabricated for your kid's go-kart, you should probably find a guy who can take well the fuel tank, right? That's not going to leak gas on it. So it's all about the value, I think, and being of service to and sharing that value with other people and other people that are coming up behind you.
I think there's a great lesson in that about understanding your value, because there's a guy that I still use for a lot of work to this day, but he's an incredible craftsman. He's actually a woodworker, but one of the most talented craftsmen I've ever been around, from fine cabinet carpentry, to larger projects, can build a pole barn or can do fine details. Just incredible. The guy's always broke, always have to advance him money to do the project, and he's always backlogged. He always has more work than he can get done, and he's always broke, right? It's like, this doesn't make any sense. You're an incredibly talented, it's because he doesn't value his time enough, and maybe some other reasons too. But there's a great business lesson in that for people.
Well, the lack of understanding, and that's what I think is so beautiful about what you guys do, is it's awareness. People are as faithful as their options. If you don't think there's an option to value your time until you meet someone that says, no, stop doing that. We're done with that. As of right this second, we're done with that. Yeah. This is what your thing is. This is what we talked to a young guy, a couple guys yesterday from Colorado, and he said, I don't do more than 4 hours of free estimating. And I said, how long have you been fabricating? He said, 20 years. I said, what are you doing with free estimates, bro? Like, what? Like, now, putting a bid together for a job, like you're going after this job or you're going after this federal job, yeah, we're all putting the time in for free and hoping it rolls out. But like, I don't do free estimates. I'll charge you a design fee. So I give you a professional service agreement for a big build. It's $5,000. And I say, hey, I'm going to put it all together. I'm going to call you, get the fabricator. I'm going to call Rodney, get the materials, the time list. I'm going to call the plumber, the electrician, the concrete guy, everything. And I'm going to have my wife makes fun of me because it's actually a binder. I keep a binder. And, but it's your binder, right? So I'm like, hey, Nix, this is your binder. This is the price of the project, right? $162,000. If you take the job from me, that $5,000 design fee is part of that 163. If you don't do the job, that's okay. No hard feelings. Here's your binder. It's got his phone number, my phone number. It's got everyone's phone number in it, all the details, the call out for sheetrock, concrete, everything, and it's yours. So now you have a blueprint to take this to another builder and do it. Maybe he can do it cheaper, but I'm not your guy. And
you're getting the $5,000 for all the work you did.
$5,000. My time's not free, because what people don't understand, and Rodney and I've talked about this too, is if I'm sitting in the office for 3 hours, designing, drawing, calling, whatever, and I'm not in the shop for those same 3 hours, I'm either paying someone like Rodney to do the work for me, or it's a lost opportunity cost for me. It's like, well, I could go and build your thing and bill you those hours, where this guy, I'm billing you hours and you might not take the job. And you get better as you go. It's like, I look at this guy and I know straight away, like we talked about, Rodney makes these really cool stairs, these monospine I-beam stairs, and he's gotten pretty good at them. And, but he knows, a 1-story set of stairs is $8,000 to $9,000. I said, that's all they need. hey, we start about $8,000 to $9,000 for staircase like that. Is that something in your price range? Oh, golly, no way. Okay, well, no worries. Well, thank you for the compliment of reaching out. You have a great day. And hang up the phone.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done with the conversation.
I have a funny story about that. I have a really ornate staircase in my house that I built, and I have a friend. He's an anesthesiologist, makes a lot of money. He came over to my house, and he was going to build a house, and he's like, man, that staircase is incredible. He goes, how much would it take for you to build this? Now, he's a buddy, so I can talk to him like this, but there was an ounce of truth in it, and I just went like this. I said, you don't make enough money, buddy. My point was, he was not going to pay what it would really cost to build. I mean, it's probably $100,000 staircase. That's what I do for a living, so it's ridiculous, but it's a home I'm going to live in the rest of my life, and it's what I wanted. But you know. Absolutely. But if he thought I was going to build him a $10,000 staircase. Yeah.
Sell your car.
And
well, and that's one thing that I've been learning and trying to like hold on to or trying to throw out there whenever you talk to anyone is it's that expectation, especially when you're dealing with residential stuff, because you're dealing with their money up front and they already have an expectation in their head. Hey, that's going to cost $2,000. You're like, no, that's like $7,000.
Well, I can't get the materials for $2,000.
You know, and so that's what I've been learning lately is that, like, hey, if you can set the expectation up front, up ahead, because our time in this conversation about this thing, you know, even people that walk through the door for a little quick thing, like I had a guy the other day wanted to extend his little trailer. And so what I've learned to do is like, I'm okay in my head. I think that'll take half a day, and then I shoot them the half a day rate. And they're like, I'm like, so do you want to do it? And I just kind of got quiet.
Stop talking,
And he's like, well, I'm going to have to see whatever. And I knew it was a no, but it was kind of one of those deals. I cut right to the chase. And you know, it's just interesting how you throw that expectation out there and they're already, you know, it's kind of hard to do that for a commercial deal, but, you know, for those small town.
The quicker you get to know, the better. Get to the answer of no so you can move on to the next thing. Our powder coat shop, we still, you know, it's really geared for commercial industrial work, but our mission statements, be big, act small. So we still want to take care of the, you know, small jobs and the local people. But I've trained our newer manager that runs that shop. People bring patio furniture, and like that's the classic powder coat job, right? All this patio furniture.
I got a table.
But we'll do it. But here's what we tell them: you don't want to offend them. You don't want to offend them, but you don't want to get people the job and then give them the bill when it's over and they about fall over. So here's what I've trained them to tell them, like what we're saying. I said, here's the first thing you tell them to vet them out. Say, if you're looking to save money by redoing this patio furniture, you need to go out and you need to buy you some brand new patio furniture. If this is an heirloom that you want to keep in the family and you want it to be really nice, now we'll talk about what the price is. We're not even going to talk about that. I mean, it's like $1,200 to even start sandblasting and powder coat. You know, you can go out and just buy you a new set, you know. And a lot of people will be like, no, I appreciate you telling me that. No, I want to do that. This was grandma's. And I want to. Okay.
Well, I think that transparency is a thing that it's hard in communication in the Midwest anyway. They're like, well, let me think about it. Well, everyone at this table know that means no. We've all said it. Let me call my wife. Okay, no, that's fine. Let's go. But I think that I think a lot about the younger people that, you know, we've all been doing this for a minute, but everyone that's coming up is giving these entrepreneurs and giving these young builders, fabricators, makers permission to be confident, giving them permission to say no, giving them permission to think outside the box and step outside their comfort zone.
Outside the lines.
Give them permission to build outside the lines. So that sort of thing. And I think and until they meet people like you or listen to the podcast, I know dozens of people that were encouraged by what you guys do and the stories that your guests on the podcast tell. And that's what's just so beautiful about it. Like, I'm not even kidding. 10 years ago, this did not exist. This was not a thing. The access to this information and all this data and the collaborating, like you guys collaborated across the damn country for crying out loud. You know, being here and seeing people like, hey, yeah. And I think that's what's so cool about it is, you know, the shoulders of giants, man. Stand on the shoulders of giants. You took a family company that, you know, was successful. The fact that you guys have made it since the early 1900s through a whole lot of it, wars, depressions, another war, more wars.
Great grandpa talked about during the Great Depression. He said, it's always like the most simple things that are most profound. He said, we didn't always have a lot of money, but we always ate good. Yep. And so they would literally, the guys couldn't pay their bills, but they would show up with bags of the farmers, bags of food, whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I think, but then also like just sort of like you and your family, immediate family, taking that business and 100xing it, right? But doing it in a way that it still holds the value of your name. It's still, I bet your great grandpa would be proud.
I hope so.
What you're doing. I'm sure he would be. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it is, and also like try something. What's the worst thing that happens that doesn't work? Okay, you spend a little money. That might sting for a little bit, but I promise you'll make more.
Yeah, we've tried a lot of stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, was noted for saying, supposedly on his deathbed, they were interviewing him, and he said, if you knew all the things I did that didn't work, you wouldn't be interviewing me.
There you go. Yeah. Well, and when Rodney bought his shop, because we were telling a story about the garage, I went to your garage, when he had the opportunity to buy this building, he came and talked to me, and we talked a lot about different sort of all the things you talk about when you've never bought commercial real estate before. And but yeah, that was terrifying for you.
Yeah, because it's like you're like, man, I'm going to be locked in for 20 years. I'm going to have to like really, as they say, nut up or shut up, you know, and just like really do something. But I've learned about my personality is like sometimes until you either back me in a corner, do I really like. Am I right? We're, like, it's always a struggle, but, like, until you get pushed back in that corner, you got to go, okay, we got to do something. And, it's just like the old saying, like, you put a wild animal in a corner, they're either going to pounce or they're not. Yeah. And sometimes for me, that's what it takes. Like, my wife always trying to drag me to certain events, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. And she'll drag me there, and then all of a sudden, man, I'm having the best time of my life. Thank God you brought me,
Make new best friend.
Yeah. And so, it's just, anyways, I think a big part of it is just learning, is you learn about yourself, what you want to do, what you're capable of, but until you're in that pinch, do you realize,
so you get out of that comfort zone.
I'd love to talk. I don't know, maybe our listeners care about this or not, but like, what is like something on the TV show, in the TV industry or whatever, like that you could pull back a little bit that they may not. I know you mentioned some things.
Pull back the curtain a little bit.
So I'll say this, like for us, you guys earlier talked about like leaving some things in that actually were problems, but we had a problem with creating drama in our little Life of a Craftsman series, right? Yeah. And I remember I sent it to a writer friend of mine, and I said, hey, what do you think? He goes, oh, this is good. He goes, all you got to do is go ask these questions. Sure. And he gave me some questions to go back and do some post interviews, and it helped. And then we got a little bit more like raw sound bites and stuff like that, raw audio, and it changed the whole direct.
Because they say every good story you have to have some kind of a drama and inflection point.
Even before when we were playing it, we were like, oh, this is where we were like, we're going to create the drama.
Yeah.
We're going to create the drama.
Yeah, right. Well, in a fabrication shop, you create anything and be like, oh, that all just fell off the rack. Let's clean that up, and everyone's deaf now. I tease people about like, you can ask me anything you want about making TV, but I'll make sure you want the answer because I'll tell you the truth. TV and sausage. You might not want to know how either are made, but I think that's the recipe, and that's a really hard thing too. And this is sort of this goes for production companies and networks, right? Out of their comfort zone. There's a recipe for reality TV, right? When we first started this show, when we pitched the show, the feedback came back that I was too masculine to be on the show by myself. My wife's like, don't tell him that. And so they said, well, we need a female designer. And I'm like, way to think outside the box, guys. We got a goofy bearded dude, and we're going to have a 100-pound blonde girl with a pink tool belt, and that's going to be the thing. Great. Because they know that recipe works. That's a
and cake. you and your daughter makes it so much better.
Well, and so that's the fun part about the kid is, so that was a joke. So we interviewed these two women that were so overqualified. I think they were lied to be on the phone call. One of them had done a remodel for Post Malone. I'm like, why are you on this phone call with me? Well, when we hung up, the producer's like, yeah, they're pretty good, but we'll keep looking. And I said, well, for whatever it's worth, my daughter said if you didn't like either candidate, she'd do it. And the woman's like, oh, tell me about your daughter. I'm like, well, that was a joke. She's an 8th grader. I don't have a grown daughter who's a designer. And she's like, well, can we talk to her? And it was a very great interview. And long story short, obviously they gave her the job. But the drama part was really important for us is I'm not here to make up stuff. And we've been part of shows where they're like, drop this or trip over that. And everyone in this room, you have a fabrication shop. What would you do if an employee chucked a $400 torque wrench across the room? Would that dude still have a job?
They'd at least be put on notice.
They'd at least own a $400 damaged torque wrench is what they... So this was a big thing for us. And the producer, one of the things that makes it so magical is our producer is a woman. Our executive producer, Hannah Borrego's her name. She's a old pistol. She's about 5 foot tall, little gal from Canada. And I wouldn't scrap with her if you paid me. But the tone is different, right? And I think earlier in this podcast, we talked about that authenticity and that realism. You're a videographer. Everyone knows that that's a drone, bro. Yeah. Like, how else are you getting that shot?
Why are we hiding the mic on?
Why are we hiding the microphone? Yeah. I can't do that for TV. I have to hide it. It freaks me out. I like to see anyway, that's my own tism that I got to deal with. It's not on you. But the same thing, right? So we break the fourth wall all the time. And a lot of it's some of it's like, hey, we planned on breaking the fourth wall, but this like turning around and looking at the camera. Like Magnum PI was one of the very first that did it, and he would look right at the camera. And then you're not supposed to do that. We don't do that.
People forget. It's like you're supposed to forget.
Yeah, you're supposed to forget. No one's forgetting. It's reality TV. They know there's a camera guy, 2 camera guys, an AC, a sound guy, 3 producers. The drone operator.
Something I never thought about, because some of the hunting shows that I like the most is where I can see the camera guys in the background. But this makes it more real to me, right? Because I'm actually a hunter. I know there's a freaking guy around there somewhere trying to video this. I never really thought about it that way.
YouTube world, I mean, they bring in, a lot of times the camera guy comes in some of the shots and like they're part, like the guy will say their name, and then every once in a while, if they have 2 camera guys, the other camera guy will be in there being almost like interviewed, not on purpose, but like they'll be talking like that.
Yeah, I'll address, like we have when we do our private stuff, Clark is our videographer, and I'll be like, Clark, you doing all right, buddy? And like he'll just like the camera will nod, yeah, right. And it's funny because we're just own it, dude. Own that it's there. Own all these things, and that's been one of the really fun things about the show is to we have a sound guy. He's all genuine, and the camera guys are great because we've all worked together for 3 seasons now. And I was trying to figure out which part to use for this sort of steampunk project. And I said, I don't know. There's all good ones. And this guy's name was Vinny. I said, Vinny, which one? And the camera guy was looking at me, just goes, like right to the sound guy. And the sound guy is he goes, handlebars. Like that's it. And it was totally true, totally scripted. I'm like, I hope that makes it show. So I think that's the difference. And a lot of people, it is unscripted TV, but you still have to make a show. You still have to, make sure the sound good. You still have to open up the camera.
There's still that. Can we get you to do that again?
There's that. And that's okay. I think that's all part of it because you can't see it every time, right? Or, you and I want to talk, there's a reason we're sitting like this. It's because of that camera can see your face, my face, your face. But if you and I square up to each other, the camera's just got my side profile and your side profile. Yeah. Oh no, he's turning towards the camera. Look at his shoulders. He ain't dumb. He's in his first rodeo, baby.
What do they call it?
Feets and teats.
Yeah. So
point your toes towards the camera. That's the trick.
So there's a little
feets and teats.
And then whenever you're like, they got the camera, you don't ever look at it, but you always look at the cameraman. You look past it.
I always say look at my shoulder. Imagine my hand up here or something like that.
Yeah. So you get used to looking over. Yeah. But
you're saying not like making drama, but I like to draw it back to people in this industry if they're making video, making content. The reason content marketing has worked. Content marketing has been around. John Deere used to send out a magazine of infotainment because it was informational and it was entertaining. It was content marketing before it was called content marketing.
Sure.
And the whole thing is if you're going to be successful, if you're not super, super valuable and educational, then you better be entertaining.
Yep.
And that could be drama. That could be goofiness. It could be funny. So. And
I think that recipe's worked. We've all seen the shows, that guys are screaming at each other and throwing wrenches and tools across the shop. But I think that I would rather sit down and I think one of the things I pride myself the most about this, and everyone at this table is an example. This is a show that I 100% can look you in the eye and tell you and your kids can watch this, right? You'll be entertained because there's some fabrication, some dude stuff. Your wife's going to like it because there's some feel good stories and the kids are involved. And then you got teenage kids that are reach out to my daughter.
Genuinely learning.
Yeah, she can drive a machine. What is happening? Like she welds. What is happening? It's like, well, kid, you can. I don't know who told you couldn't.
I think I saw an episode where she was driving a boom lift, like a great all, telescoping boom lift. Yeah.
Yeah, and she does it all. We'd shot one shot a while back, and she called me. I was coming to the event. And she says, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 45 minutes away." She's like, "It's gonna rain, bro. We're not waiting for you." I'm like, "Do you, boo? I don't know what to tell you. I can only drive as fast as I can drive." And when I got there, she had a whole building picked up on that telehandler and strapped to the forks on fork extender, a whole like 10 by 16 building. And I'm like, pitter patter, kid, get at her, right? But I want her not to be afraid of that. And what's the magical thing about that is we travel with her a lot. We live in a very small town in South Dakota. We love it, love it, love it. Between my wife and I, we've been to 100 countries together. And but Sprout's been to 17 countries as a 17-year-old kid. And the confidence that you allow your kids, and you put your kids in every situation, allow them to do dangerous things carefully, right?
That's a good way to say it.
Allow them to use a torch or a plasma cutter.
Allow them to do dangerous things carefully.
If you're using it correctly. And, so what's neat about it is she's at the age where she's applying for colleges now, right? So she's applied for colleges in London and in Scotland. And and it's no different to her than applying for the one in Denver. And it's just, that's just a good school. It doesn't even register her. That's terrifying to 99% of adults. Be like, I can't live in London. Well, I don't know how to drive the cars, right? So I'm so proud that she's fearless. She's not, and I think kids are taught to fear things by us, because if you as an adult are too scared to get outside your comfort zone, if you're too scared to try, if you're too scared to take a swing, the kids will be too scared too, and their kids will be too scared. And then, then people like you don't innovate and come along. People like Rodney, he's changed the face of welding in our town and what he's been able to do.
And beyond your town, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of us, that had parents that had your regular 9-to-5 jobs or
rich dad, poor dad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta read that. I have not read it.
That's a good book. It's a really good book.
A lot of people have that personality.
Yeah.
Like you got to go to work every day, and you got to you're going to get paid what you're going to get paid. You may be able to argue a little bit.
Sure.
And then you clock out, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You need those people, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's times where, I think even my wife has asked me, like, what got me to be such a social butterfly? What got me to leave my hometown and venture out? I was like, well, first I got engaged when I was a senior in high school, and that broke my heart. So I was ready to get out of town, Well, then because of welding school, my welding instructor was, there's jobs all over the country. And I was like, I want to get as far away, as possible. And then that's where, welding on drilling rigs, welding on, pipelines. And then that's where, it involved traveling, and then I met new people. And so I guess where I'm going is like, I kind of felt like I changed that direction in my family, because my family, my wife calls it the compound, because my family, the Ross side of the family, has lived within, I'd say within probably a 5 or 10 mile radius. We have property that's relatively close. No one really moved away. I mean, we got relatives all over the country, but there's a core of us that never moved out. And so breaking out of that realm, and then my brother started traveling, and then my cousins, and anyway, it's breaking that cycle, that there's more out there. So talk about growing up, we're taught to be not necessarily intentionally afraid, but conservative because because like for me, traveling pipeline, and I had to go take a welding test every single job that I ever took. If I drove from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania, and if I didn't make that job, I was driving my happy butt all the way back home, or I had to call a few friends and, hey, do you know anything? And so that's where the networking in the business world, where for me, I feel like, I think that's where my wife was asking me. She was asking, like, how did I get to be so like a social butterfly in the business world? Is because I'm like, well, when you're hunting for a job, because the natural realm is that you get laid off, you go find another job. It's oh yeah, was it you or was it Ruby? I can't remember. But one of them yesterday was like, laid off is a bad word.
Yeah, you just said Austin got laid off. I said, oh shit, what happened? He goes, nothing. I'm like, what? Well, how do you get laid off? He goes, oh no, that just means the welding job's over. I'm like, y'all should pick a different name for that. I'm like, what happened?
This project's done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the that's the nature of that
industry
travel,
term.
pipeline travel. Or
So like getting out and trying to run your own business, and that you know, because like whenever Maggie reached out about doing the podcast, you know, and she's like, do you want to go here in person or virtual? I was like, my brain just went like, why would I miss out on an opportunity like that? You know,
100%.
but I've been 100% like, if there's an opportunity, I'm going to find a way to see how we can do that, because, you know, so I
never know where it's going to lead.
Yeah, FabTech's that example too, right?
Oh
What
my
an
God.
opportunity just to meet other people that you follow and watch, and sort of fun to see them in real life, and talk to partners and future partners. And
I've been like a little, what do you call it, showgirl here? Like, or not showgirl, but you know,
Showgirl.
not
Kid in
showgirl.
a candy shop?
Whoops.
that's what he was shooting for.
I thought he was going for kid in a candy shop.
Went straight
Kid in a
to
candy shop. That's because he
more of
used
a
to work.
cabaret than it is.
Yeah. So, thank you for this. Is sponsored by. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know if that's a real thing.
Like,
Just kidding.
oh, that is probably it. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Mason, whip that out.
Multi-press.
Bam.
Powered by Pacific.
Obviously, you guys are not known at all. So, how can people follow along with you guys if they hear about you guys on our podcast? We are very well known. Please rate, review, and share.
We're going to be a lot more well known after this episode.
No? How do they follow along with you, unwell known people?
Well, so for Mid-State Welding, Rodney, you can follow me on Instagram. That's my main platform, but I do have LinkedIn, I do have Facebook and TikTok, and a little bit of YouTube. You can
And
find me there.
Instagram and Facebook and all that. Is it just Rodney Ross?
It is Mid-State Welding.
Okay, you go by Mid-State.
Yep. Just like literally type it in, no spaces, and that's how I am on every platform. I don't know how I lucked out on that one, but you know.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm on the machine, on the Google machine. Buildweird.com is our platform. You can link everything out from there. Instagram and
We interact with you on TV. Like, if I turn on the TV, can I just...
you can. You just talk. I appreciate. Record yourself talking to the TV. I'd like to see that interaction. And
Check out the show for real. Building Outside the Lines on the Magnolia Network.
Yeah,
Rodney's a regular guest on the show. He's the fab shop that they lean on for the show. So it's really cool. And then you're right. I mean, it's a show that you can watch with your kids, with your
Is
wife.
Cappie on there regularly?
Cappie's the
Yeah,
host.
I'm on there sometimes. Every once in a while. My daughter's the host. I'm the guy that reaches things on tall shelves. That's my job. the thing. So we joke that I'm 90% of the talking, and the crew is 90% of the working.
And that is one, in all seriousness, like as far as peeling the curtain back for people to peek. We were talking off air earlier about this. He was saying that the guys that really do the work said that Cappie doesn't count when they're estimating the amount of time it takes to do the job. He doesn't actually account for
They don't count as a
because
person.
he comes in and obviously you know how to do the work, but he comes in, puts a few screws in or whatever, and then he goes on to the next to film the next thing, and then they got to actually do all the
I
work.
took it as he came in, he messed it up, and then left.
Yeah, right. F it up and fix it. It's so one of the things sort of behind the curtain thing is people don't realize we film multiple episodes at once. You know, similar to you guys, people that listen to the podcast are like, oh, that was today's podcast. Tomorrow will be tomorrow. Oh no, we ran 5 of those in a whack, or 10 of those, or we spent all week doing it and then we banked it up for 6 months. So we do the same thing in filming, and that's just efficiency of time and equipment. You know, you have a film crew of 15 people, plus the talent side of it, plus the subcontractors, plus the clients. So we have 25, 30 people on a job site at any one time, and we bounce between job sites, right? So, you know, as like fabricating, for example, like we show Rodney cutting, grinding, welding, but he's got 9.5 hours of cutting, grinding, welding to do. It's
for 2 minutes on the show.
22 seconds on the show. Yeah.
Version?
Yeah, we got a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, director's cut of him grinding for 9 hours. So that's what a lot of it about is, like us doing the work. And but what's great about the show is it's not, you know, our crew is our crew. You see Ruby and Dustin, you know, and Tanner's on the show, and Sprout and all these different people. My wife's behind the scenes on the show. She doesn't like to be in front of the camera as much, but everyone works. And what's neat about the show is it's important to me as not only the host, but the owner of the idea, is that everyone gets credit for what they did. You know, I don't want you to be like, go and do it, and then be like, okay, scoot out of the way. Now I'm going to pretend I put the last boards in, and I'm the hero that finished this whole 1,500 square foot deck. That's not what happened. It wasn't at all. And I'm okay telling that story. I can't be everywhere at one time. It's not possible. Neither can you. You know, you talked about like you have an amazing team that sets all this up. That, you know, you were setting up mics and micing us up, and you know, you're the host and you sit down and do your thing. But co-host, that's right. And I think that's the magic, right? Is everyone has their zone of genius. And whether that's in business or in production, there's a lot of people like, hey, I'm a hell of a fabricator, but I don't know how to use an Excel spreadsheet. Well, you don't have to know how. You just have to find the people that do, and you know, and bring those in. And I think that's also some of it too. Is you know, just do the thing that you're best at, and keep moving forward, and hire other people that are good at other things, and they come up with you, and everyone wins.
You want to see if if Rodney taught him how we sign off?
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, Rodney will do it.
Oh,
Putting me on the spot.
If you're not making sparks,
You ain't making money.
He threw that little southern
Oh,
drawl.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
This was
No,
awesome.
thank you
appreciate
for having us.
It's amazing.